Hello, everyone, and welcome to Above the Tree Line, the podcast where we answer your questions about what?
Christianity, culture, and something else.
Faith.
Faith.
Faith, Christianity, culture.
See, I do pay attention.
We are here with Austin Christian Fellowship Senior Pastor, once again, Will Davis Jr.
Hi, Lauren.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm super excited about this topic. Okay, I guess full disclosure, this is something that I don't know. I've made the statement that I think that women struggle with this maybe more than men. That may not be true because I'm looking at it from a biased perspective. But today, I want to dive into the topic of vanity.
Because men never struggle with vanity, so go.
Right.
Perfect.
So the definition of vanity that I'm using in this is inflated pride in one's appearance, inflated pride in oneself, inflated. I'm thinking like the song "You're So Vain."
You're so vain.
Yes. So we have that, but then I want to kind of contrast it, and I know what you're going to say to this, but in Ecclesiastes, where it says, "Vanity of vanities, all is vanity." Now, I do believe those are two different that's a different definition than what I'm using. So when Solomon is talking about vanity in Ecclesiastes, what is he talking about?
It's a vain effort. It's meaningless. So it's probably the deeper meaning of the word vanity, and this is in vain. There's no.
Okay.
This effort is in vain. So his effort to find meaning and joy in life through material pursuits, through sex, literally sex, drugs, and rock and roll, 1000 BC version, he's like, it's empty. There's nothing here. It's vanity. It was a vain effort. That's how that word means then.
Okay. So he's not talking about
He's
beauty,
not talking about
appearance.
overabundance of pride and self-confidence.
Well, I just know, like, when we've looked at Old Testament laws, and I like to say which ones can be thrown out and which ones do we need to keep. And we talk about like women specifically, like with their hair, with their jewelry. At what point?
Why do I feel like you're setting traps for me?
I'm not setting
I'm
traps.
Gonna get in. I feel like this is like going to turn out so poorly for me.
So
you're going to have me. I'm not commenting on women. I'm just
do we have
Absolutely not
to
going
abide by, like, is that still something? Because honestly, I was convicted the other day because I got my birthday money and I'm starting to think, what can I buy? Okay, let's look for makeup. Let's look for like clothes. All of this is vanity, but is it sinful to
Why would you say that is vanity?
Because it's vain. Like, it's
what
like,
is, what, using
I
some
want,
using
I
makeup
want
is vain?
I want new eyeshadow.
See, I'm trying to set traps for you. I want to get Lauren.
So
Send
here
all
it
your
is.
emails to Lauren. Please.
Jeremiah 4:30. Why dress yourself in scarlet and put on jewels of gold? Why highlight your eyes with makeup? You adorn yourself in vain. So it sounds to me like Jeremiah is being like, dude, why are you wearing makeup? Why are you wearing gold?
There's a chance you're taking that out of context.
Okay, give me the context.
They're about to be deported. You're probably not going to need your makeup.
So it's not
you're
a sin.
You're about to be deported to Babylon. It probably is not. You're probably not going to need that mirror since you're going to be in exile. I think that's the context.
I'm just looking at it.
Why are you decorating yourself when you're about to become a slave? It's maybe the context.
Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting.
It is.
So our culture,
a woman who fears the Lord should be praised.
Yes, should be praised. But our culture, especially in light of social media, Snapchat, I don't want to call it out specifically, but all these platforms that are like, here's pictures of me at really good angles. Here's filters. I'm looking really pretty today. I'm going to show the world. Please like my photos. That's vanity. Yes?
You're doing great. Go ahead.
Well, that's at what point should Christians say, I'm not going to engage in that behavior because that is pride and that is vanity?
So you're talking to a guy who's not on social media.
Right.
Okay, so I don't know what, I can talk to you about what I believe vanity is, and we in all seriousness, we need to address it. But I can't know the heart of that 13 or 23-year-old who's putting that out there. I do think it is, it creates competition, and I think it creates unreal expectations that can't be met, which is why so many young women specifically have depression issues and self-esteem issues today. Is it wrong to want to look nice? Like, I put on a shirt for this podcast. Is that vain? I'm covered. I could wear something else and be covered up. But I'm like, Susie will say to me, are you going to be in front of anybody today? Because you look terrible. She's like, if you're going to be in front of people, don't wear that. Is that vanity or is that being polite? Mm-hmm. If I'm brushing my teeth in the morning Is it because I want you to say, wow, Will has really great breath, or I want you to just not be offended when you smell my
Well, there's a
breath?
difference between hygiene and beauty. So the reason I feel like this is more geared towards women is because you're not it doesn't take men as long to get ready as it does
We have
women.
less to work with.
Exactly.
I just know you can only take a man so far.
You're
Okay,
not,
it's just not
but
as
you're not curling your hair. You're not applying makeup and lipstick and lip liner and wrinkle filler and eyelashes. So at what point does dolling yourself up like that become vanity?
what's. I think you have to wrestle with where are you getting your value from, and what messages are you trying to send, and what is the purpose of makeup or curling a hair or putting on a tie as a guy or whatever. I think if I'm getting my value from, man, I'm going to go do 1,000 crunches because I really want to have great abs. Well, having a strong core will help my back. But if I'm looking forward to showing my abs at the beach this summer, so everybody will be impressed with me and go ooh ah, that may be a motive that's not necessarily Christ centered. So I think you have
So it's
to.
not the action, it's the motive behind the action.
I think it's why I want to be pretty, or why I want to be thin, or why I want to be ripped. Because I want people to think, "Ooh, he's really in shape." Well, okay, why? And I think we have to go all the way back, Lauren, to Genesis chapter 3, to the moment before Adam and Eve ate the fruit, and they were naked and didn't have any shame.
Mm-hmm.
And when they ate the fruit, this shift of focus, there was a shifting of attention to now physical, and the definition of acceptability became physical as opposed to spiritual. Beauty, I think, got redefined or warped in Genesis chapter 3. And the emphasis was, oh, we don't look acceptable, I've got to cover up, which is the origin of shame. And that wasn't the case before they sinned. So I think you have to wrestle with, am I okay? Literally, am I okay in my skin? And if I'm out at HEB and I'm not wearing makeup, can I be okay with that? Because this is the face God gave me, and we're going to go with that. Versus I need to doll up because I don't want people to see me as I really am. And I don't have an opinion on should girls wear makeup or not. I do have an opinion on where your value comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not how you look. Because, by the way, charm is deceitful, and beauty is going to fade away. It's fleeting.
Yeah.
It's fleeting.
So you're talking about being comfortable in your own skin. So skin being the key word here. So as you age, skin loses elasticity. Things just start to generally sag and not look as good. So now there's all these different procedures, and there's, Botox and fillers and all these things we can do to keep our skin tight. Do you have an opinion about if Christians should be using any of that?
No, I really don't. I do think ultimately you're fighting a losing battle.
Right.
You can try to fend off whatever. If I have a scar on my face and I get plastic surgery to cover that scar, is that vanity? So I'm not going to speak into if somebody doesn't like the way their eyes look, if they want to get their eyes lifted. I think you need to go before God and say, God, can I justify this from the stewardship standpoint?
Mm-hmm.
Is this okay with my time and my money?
Mm-hmm.
And you wrestle it out with the Holy Spirit. But we do need to realize we sometimes put a lot of emphasis on the physical, which we've said in this podcast multiple times, is going to cease to exist.
Right.
And what I want to do is make sure that I'm working as hard on my spirit as I'm working on my abs or my biceps, that I'm doing as much. In fact, Paul said physical training has some benefit, but spiritual training has ultimate benefit. And it's like, so don't spend so much time working on your body that you neglect your spirit. In fact, it ought to be the other way around. We spend a whole lot more time trying to be great triathletes or beautiful women or men, and yet I can't quote you 5 verses of the New Testament. That may be upside down.
Because I went to a creative pastors conference this year, and so many of the male pastors were fit. I mean, I'm not going to say that they were like chiseled, but they were fit, and a lot of them talked about.
What is the difference between chiseled and fit?
I mean, I'm not going to get into that. But
Can you please tell me the difference?
Am I fit? Pictures.
Am I fit or am I chiseled?
I'm not commenting on that. So
you're neither.
A lot of these pastors talk about the component of their like they work out. That's like part of their thing. It's like, workout.
Yeah. I work out.
Why? Like,
I climb mountains, and it's therapy for me, and it's where I see God. And I set a goal years ago to finish all the 14ers in Colorado, and so I have to train. But that also keeps my heart. I have a heart issue, and I have joint issues, and so I have to train to stay physically healthy because if my body fails me, it can greatly impact my ability to do my job. And so I do think I'm all about trying to be healthy physically, but I don't want. It's not so I can have you say, "Oh, look at Will, he looks so good today." That's missing the point. I do want to take care of my temple that God has given me, so I can do my job, but I don't want to do it to draw attention to myself or to have people say, "Ooh, look at him." But I try to stay fit because I think I may live longer. It may help my heart be better, my mind to be better. That's to me that's good stewardship. I think that's just taking care of the body God gave me. But trying to do it to draw attention to myself, now I'm slipping into that dysfunctional area of I need you to think I'm hot so I can feel good about myself.
oh, so many more questions just came to mind. So let's
What a
dive.
great topic. This is fun.
It is fun.
This is fun.
We live in a pretty affluent area. Lots of very expensive name brands, like from cars to purses to shoes. Should Christians is it okay if you have the means for Christians to buy and drive around a $100,000 car or $1,000 handbag?
The guy who helped fund ACF for the first year and a half, I mean, he funded a church for the first year and a half. Would pick up Susie and me with his wife for dinner. He's in a Jag. He's driving a Jag. Good for him. He can afford a Jag, but he's also funding our church, like totally. Good for him.
But don't you think it kind of sends a wrong message? Like to people who are outside the church. Like if you pull into a church parking lot, like, the hospital for the broken people, and it's full of $100,000 cars, I feel like that could be a turnoff.
To who?
To people, I don't know. I'm
I'm
wondering if it sends the wrong message.
There are people who clearly think Christians are supposed to be poor. That's not a biblical message. Neither are Christians designed or destined to be rich necessarily. But if God's given you the means to live a certain lifestyle and you're extremely generous with your means, I don't care what car you drive or what zip code you live in, because people are going to live in all kinds of zip codes. And there are wealthy people that God used in Scripture in tremendous ways, and he used the poor as well. So I don't think living at a means that God has given you is the point. It's what are you doing to build the kingdom with what he's given you. So if you buy $1,000 purse, that's between you and God.
Okay. So a lot of our church is very big on mission work, and we go and we serve ministry partners in the city of Austin. And some of these, there's extreme poverty in parts of the city of Austin. So I try to be cognizant of if I'm going into an area of poverty and these people don't even have running water in their trailers, for example, and I'm carrying $1,000 handbag, I feel like that's not going to sit very well with
I think
the
that's great
people.
discernment on your part. As we both have been third world multiple times,
Yeah.
You don't want to make people feel uncomfortable or like they can't relate to you. But when you're living out here in 30 or 46 or wherever you are in our current zip codes out here, I don't personally, Lauren, I don't spend a lot of time looking at the cars people drive. They're just cars.
I spend a lot of time yelling at the cars people drive out here.
The drivers,
right?
Specifically. But you do make a good point that, again, we say this almost every podcast, all things are permissible.
Not all things are beneficial.
You can drive any car you want to drive. It may not be the wisest thing to do in certain settings, but you can live in any zip code you want to. You can have as many square feet as you want to. It's not a sin to have 10,000 square feet. What are you doing with that 10,000 square feet? And do you think you're better than someone else because you have 10,000 square feet? Or do you think now you're secure? Because guess what? It can blow away tomorrow. It can blow away tomorrow.
So I struggle with a legalistic side of myself. You know this about me.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So I was always a pretty big rule follower, abide by, the school dress codes and everything. And kind of shake my finger a little bit. I'm like, those shorts are too short. And I still do that to this day. And I I don't know why, but I take issue with people like, don't post pictures of yourself wearing bikinis on social media. And I see this in youth and I see it
Yeah.
in women my age. And I just have to wonder, I'm like, well, why? Why are you doing that? It feels very inappropriate. Like it could be causing somebody else to stumble if you're putting that out there for the world.
Is there a question in there?
Yeah. So I'm just wondering, like, should we be mindful, especially in the era of social media, like should be mindful of how we're dressing?
I think, yeah. I'm not, again, I'm not on social media, but my wife will be looking at whatever Instagram or whatever she looks at, and she'll go, I really wish they wouldn't post those pictures.
Right.
Because and some of it's naivete, some of it's just the way high school girls dress at the lake or wherever, the beach. And they're not trying to be provocative. They're at the beach, and that's what high school girls wear, supposedly. What they're not thinking about is how guys look at that.
Exactly.
And the message that they're not trying to send that might inadvertently be being heard.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's where parents can step in, or role models like you, because you do this, and say, you just need to think about how a guy looks at this photo. And you don't want to have him draw the wrong conclusions about you, nor do you want to cause him to stumble as a brother in Christ. So I do think there's a place for some self-policing or discipleship.
Yeah.
With
And I don't want to
people.
blame women
Yeah,
like, oh,
no.
you asked
Yeah,
for
but
this.
it's like,
Like, I
what,
don't feel that way.
again, if I look really hot in this, I want to show everybody. That may be, you're trying to maybe meet a need the wrong way by
Right.
doing that.
And I feel like you see this a lot with fitness. Like fitness is a very big thing on social media right now. And it's like a lot of the clothes that people wear when they work out, I would deem as not appropriate. But it's the Southern Baptist in me. I believe in like, you just be a little more modest, cover up a little bit more.
Wear burlap.
Yes, wear a
Burlap's
burlap
a
sack.
wonderful thing.
And so I'll find all these videos of people that I know and love. And it's like, oh, here's that person not wearing very much clothing, putting this out there for the whole world to see. And they may feel like I've worked really hard for this body. This is what you wear when you work out.
Yeah,
I'm
and
going
they're
to
not
show
thinking
people.
twice about it.
Yeah, they're not thinking
They're
about
not
it.
thinking twice about it. So I have to be careful how I view people like that I don't judge them. And because, what grace is for me may not be grace for somebody else, or vice versa. So I can't, if some girl I know that I care about deeply dresses appropriately, dresses the way people dress in a gym, and she's showing some skin, some midriff or whatever, or she's got on tight pants, that's how they work out in the gym, I can't judge that. I'm not going to look at it, but I can't judge her for that. I don't know her motives. I don't know what she's thinking. I can't get into that. I think the point of Vanity, Lauren, is trying to communicate something about yourself that either you don't need to communicate or that isn't true. Because what defines you is not how you look. Remember, you're defined by the image of God. So that delightful autistic kid, or that delightful kid with Down syndrome, probably can't post a meaningful enough picture to get a lot of attention on social media for how they look. Are they less valuable?
No.
So I know. So Vanity's saying, well, I've got value because of how I look. So you're saying the Downs kid does not. And that's not what we're saying. We're not doing the math on it. So what makes us valuable is the image of God. That fearfully and wonderfully made passage we always quote in Psalm 139 is not about how a person looks. It's about the image of God, beautifully woven into them, that sets them apart from all creation. That's what that means. And so you can say to a 16-year-old young woman, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, but it has nothing to do with how you look, or how much you weigh, or your GPA, or to a guy, how fast you can run a 40 or how much you can bench press. That's, your image is going to be holy to God regardless. And so Vanity, I think, tries to usurp that image of God piece and says, well, I'm valuable because I can bench press 300 pounds or 500 pounds, or I can run, 6-minute mile or whatever, or look how great I look.
Well, it's also pride. Like
What is pride, though? It's a covering for insecurity. Pride is a surface expression of insecurity. Proud people are insecure people. I know because I are one, by the way. I deal with both. Well, when I'm telling you how great I am, it's because I don't think I'm great. I'm really insecure at my core. That's what it is. So we cover. Just let Jesus love on you and tell you you're okay regardless of how you look.
So what do you think about for example, if you get a birthday check, I'm asking for a friend.
I have
And
a friend who
this
struggles
friend
with this.
wants to, this thing makes you look like you have a smaller waist, or, this thing
Where
would,
do I go? I need to go buy that right now.
right.
I'm kidding. It's too late.
So is it
Too late.
okay for us to invest in that and to spend time researching that? Like, I don't know. I guess I feel convicted. Like, Lauren, why are you looking at so many face contour kits? Like, is this wrong? Would God be like, what are you doing
I don't even
with
know what
your
that
time?
is. I don't even know what that is.
So I mean, that's
I
that's
clearly need to step up into this world. I'm missing a lot, it sounds
and
like.
when I talk to other teenage girls or young adult women, like we just struggle with this, and it's like, man, I want to be a rule follower, I want to be pleasing to God, but then there's this other part where it's like everybody wants to kind of be beautiful.
So do the math on that. The message is you don't measure up if you don't look a certain way. That's a lie.
But I don't think at the same time you would want me to come on this podcast with no makeup and no hair done.
You need to try it next time and see if you get a response.
I'm not gonna do that. But I mean, that's the question. It's like, you do, to a certain degree, you need to be, I don't know, polished is the word, but presentable.
So, but if we were going out to visit a village in a remote part of Africa, you wouldn't be worried about makeup.
No, I wouldn't wear
So
makeup.
some of it is context and what's expected. And that's a cultural thing. There's nothing wrong with playing ball in culture, but you have to acknowledge it's a cultural thing. Because we were going to visit the people down in Nicaragua or wherever doing a food distribution, you're not going to be wearing a bunch of makeup.
Right.
Keep culture in its place. Don't let it dictate who you are.
But if you genuinely just have an interest in makeup and hair, you can watch tutorials and have
Bless
fun
you.
with it.
Bless you.
You clearly don't have an interest in makeup.
In a lot of things.
Right.
Yes, the list is getting shorter by the day.
Okay, well, there's so many more questions I could ask about this
Great
topic.
topic.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Great topic. Thanks for whoever asked. Great topic.
Yeah, it was me that asked this one.
Okay, good.
So full
So glad to know
disclosure,
that.
because I just read
Glad
Ecclesiastes.
to help you. Glad we did this whole podcast to help you.
But as I was speaking with some of the youth, I figured out, I was like, man, this is a real issue. And like a girl that I had lunch with last week was like, yeah, so what is the answer to that? Like, is it okay? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm going to ask Will, and we'll see if it's okay.
So the answer is, what is your motivation and what messages are you trying to send and where do you get your value? If you get your value from being pretty, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Because there's always somebody prettier. So you got to weigh, what am I trying to say? What am I trying to accomplish? And messages am I sending? And ultimately, what defines me? And Christ needs to define you, not how you look. Bottom line.
Well said, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in for this podcast. Thank you to all the sweet young ladies that helped come up with this topic. Please keep them coming, acfellowship.org/podcast, and we'll see you guys next week.